Hi guys, Football-ManagerYouthDevelopment.co.uk here. In this episode, I'm going to give you 3 tips for improving player average ratings on Football Manager. When playing Football Manager, one of the most frustrating things is when you spend quite a bit of time setting up your squad for a match day and only to see them lose a game and quite a few of your players get quite a low average rating. My first tip for improving player average rating on Football Manager is to pick certain players for certain games. So obviously when you're playing Football Manager, there's going to be some games where you're favourite to win the games, some games where it's going to be quite a close call. You don't know if you're going to be, getting a draw, win or loss, and there's certainly going to be some games where you're the complete underdog and you've got absolutely no chance of winning. Now, what I would really highly recommend is to try and not play any youth players when you're really the underdog team. You need to be playing your more experienced players, the players that you can rely on, and that should make sure that your younger players are not getting a low average rating. Likewise, when you are playing a team that you're meant to be, that you're expected to get a win against, it can be a good idea to try and throw a couple of the younger players in to try and improve their form and their average rating. Obviously, it's going to be a really good thing when you're manage a team on Football Manager to make sure that the player morale is as high as possible. So my second tip is when you are picking your Matchday squad to make sure that you're putting in players that have a really good morale. So you can see here this starting lineup. Generally, I try and pick players where their morale is really good. You can see here, so if I take this guy as a really quick example, you can see here that his morale is on superb and his form's on 7.42 at the moment, which is pretty high to be honest. This team that I'm managing here, MK Dons, we've only just got into the Premier League, so we're by no means the best team in the league, and there are some games where we're complete underdogs. If I show you the last game that I played, I did actually manage to beat Liverpool 3-1. And you can see in this game that I went for quite an experienced lineup. So, I decided to have players like this in the team who have absolutely fantastic mental attributes. And you can see when you do pick players like that in your team, they tend to have a much higher average rating because they've got the experience to kind of cope with the big pressure games, and they're more than likely to do a lot better for you. On the other side, I have got some more younger players, like Harry Chapman, for example. Potentially, he's not really Premier League quality, but you can see here that his average rating for this game, even though we did win 3-1, was only 6.6. So, unfortunately, in my team at the moment, I don't have too much experience, but to make sure that you're getting a higher average rating from your players, just make sure that they're really high in terms of morale. My third tip for improving player average rating is to have a really good think about when you're making your substitutes. So if we take this game just as an example, so you can see here I did end up winning this game 5-1. In the 64th minute, I noticed that my striker had a couple of goals and an assist as well, which meant that his average rating for the game was 9.2. Now, really, in the 64th minute, the game was kind of completely dead and buried, and I didn't really need to worry about losing the game or anything like this. So, considering that guy's got a high average rating, it's a good opportunity for you to make a substitution. And in this particular case, what I decided to do was bring this guy on, Alex Brake, and you can see he actually managed to get an average rating of 7.2. Now, when your team is playing really well, you can bring on some substitutes. And the idea of bringing on these substitutes, or how I use substitutes, is to give these players that might not be playing as often as the other players a really good chance to increase their average rating and, of course, increase their morale. So by giving these players an opportunity to come on the field when the rest of your players are playing well, you give them an opportunity to increase their average rating. And of course, in this particular case, Alex Brake, who I decided to substitute for this striker, manages to bag himself a goal as well. So in turn, I managed to get a high average rating out of this striker, and being quite clever with my substitutions, because I realised my team's playing really well, I do actually manage to increase this guy's average rating as well. So really worth considering doing that. I'm going to call that the end of this episode, guys, but just to recap my 3 tips again, just be very careful on your team selection, depending on if you're favourites for a game or if you're the underdogs for a game. Make sure that you're picking players when their morale is high. And of course, my third tip is to really think about when you're making substitutions. So if you do have an opportunity to bring someone off who is playing well and you think you might have, being an opportunity to bring someone on as a sub to increase their average rating, then make sure you do this. So thanks for watching this episode, guys. If you do have any questions, then please do leave them in the comments section on YouTube. And of course, do subscribe to the channel and press that like button, and we'll be back very soon for some more Football Manager videos. Thanks for watching.